Labropoulos comes here from Uzbek. Mr. Labropoulos, am I right? Please introduce yourselves, because some people might not know you. We know Gennathios. Mr. Labropoulos has been a Secretary General at the Ministry of Transport. So please, a small introduction. Yes, this was the unfortunate part of my life. Well, I have been a professor, and I am a professor at the Technical University of Athens. I have started as an engineer. Now, another tone now. What are the prerequisites for a successful planning and implementation of public works? The flows for public projects are quite chronic. We know that there has been a momentous problem throughout the crisis, because there has been a development through loans, especially in public projects. There has been an example of the motorway Ameriki Actio. 20 years. We shall need to end up with this project from the very initiation of it. What was the bit of that? Without any study, fragmentation, without any balance of colors, without any link with the Ionian Street. And of course, management later on from both parties was not an ideal one. To me, there is always one question. When you have in hands this plan, when you have in front of you the failure of Avraki Actio, how can you fail in Pyrgos motorway? There is here a tone of optimism. The European recovery plan, along with NSRF, may well go beyond 50 billion euros. Big part will go for infrastructure, because infrastructure has a multiplying effect. In all previous programs there have been many delays in implementation and absorption. However, in this crisis there will be no tomorrow if there is no front-loaded absorption. To make it happen at last, many things must change at least. First thing is for our country to get some proper infrastructure. We are lagging behind. Yes, we're lagging behind vis-à-vis other European countries. The public administration should modernize itself and skip the political system. The different perspectives, regulations should become more automatic. There must be databases so that we can take into account all that during the decision-making process, and many other things. Does this suffice, however? No, of course not. Professional associations should become more modern. The other 50%, that is, the other side of the moon, that is. So, the National Council of Infrastructure got a legal entity in December 2019. Many countries have a construction council. It's not something that we have here in Greece. There have been lengthy efforts in the sector that failed. Today we have 7 unions, associations that participate in the bidding procedure and in the execution procedure of the vast majority of the public procurement for services, projects and studies. SVIC is not a confederation, but it is a non-profit civil entity expressing the totality of its members in administrative issues. It takes into account proposals, and there is convergence of views. It's very important during the debate and the discussion with competent ministries. We have submitted proposals with different regulations that have an immediate effect. What do we need to achieve? Transparent criteria, so that we can have a good implementation of public procurement. These proposals that will be adopted, hopefully, may bring an immediate improvement in public procurement studies in our country. Something very, very important. Let us now talk about some of them. First of all, multiple criteria, not just the price criterion, but also objective criteria and fully quantified, not subjective assessments of any committee. Control of studies, but also different projects and monitoring by private companies to enhance the role of public services, and national system of technical perspectives and pricing. And of course, unsolicited proposals, which is on the agenda of the government. The working groups of SVEC still produce some work, and quite briefly, quite shortly, there will be some proposals submitted to the ministry when it comes to the technical perspectives of the projects, the National Registry of Bridges and the Manual of Audit. We have with us an exquisite bridges engineer, and we have with us the head of the effort to have some operational registries and functional manuals, not maximalistic things. Of course, another team aims at simplifying the Law 4412 of 2016, and another team works on how 4413 will match the PPP initiative. Strategic planning is complicated but should exist, and of course some other issues that we are looking into, but please keep that as the most important ones. Now, to keep the hat of the professor, I should tell you that there is no case of updating the country if we don't get proper stuff. So, let me start from the university. Review of studies, curricula, master degrees rather, applied master degrees, and lifelong learning of different stuff and people from the private sector. For instance, we must go into the B level, but we must learn how to do it. Another prerequisite is legislation. Contrary to the continuous modifications, add-on, etc., the legislation should have a vision in the long run, not in the short run. Contrary to the supremacy of any government power, legislation should be the result of an exhaustive negotiation procedure and consultation. Today, legislation is not well balanced. It ignores secondary objectives like entrepreneurship, extroversion, etc., whereas the direct transposition of the European laws have been distorted upon the addition of national articles. Following the speedy legislation of measures that will yield directly, the government, in our view, should move on with an extended deregulation with an adaptation to the best worldwide practices. Imagine FIDIC and all other systems that exist abroad. We must not forget, however, that a necessary prerequisite for the support of the legislation is the monitoring of its proper implementation, as well as the fact that we have to avoid fraud or different errors or clientele procedure. We know that relationships can play a key role in the Greek reality. Moreover, political leaders should learn the lessons from each step. Financing. Of course, we need financing from the private sector, but there must be an acceptance of the fact that the user should also pay. Financing of PPP with availability payments is a commitment of the future programs for public works. Now let us come to the national plan of infrastructure projects. In our country, there is no project in the long run. These cannot be replaced by the multi-annual projects of the NSRF, nor the document of many pages. We have a tendency to support the implementation of consumption. That is, we do not support projects that will deliver for the future. Attiki Odos is a golden example because it may bring income to the state in the long run. A regional motorway will not yield equal opportunities. In other words, what is crucial for our country is to invest in proper ROI, return on investment, projects that can be constructed without any unnecessary expenses. Moreover, there should be automation in design. They should obey the main principles, cost benefit, at a practical level, not at a theoretical one. Proper traffic studies, drilling registries to help the decision-making process. Moreover, the study of works should be subject to the lifespan. That is, take into account the whole lifespan of the project. A safe system, the management, the retro value planning, value engineering, and follow best practices. One example of value planning is what the political leadership has recently announced about Thessaloniki. Another value planning is what they said today. Now, in the era of abundance, we spent many times borrowed money in unnecessary projects. I will talk to you about new project. The means of transport are of paramount importance to transfer goods and services. Density regionally is small, so demand is small. Our country is full of mountains, so we have to design based on the Greek needs and be realistic. What should we finalize? The suburban railways, of course, and the metro system. We must finalize that pretty soon. Furthermore, we must increase expenses for the maintenance of the current infrastructure to the detriment of new ones, because we want to build new things, but what about the old things? How can we maintain that? An example is road safety. There has been an idea to upgrade the rural motorways in our country, 13,000 kilometers, but still nothing has been done. The actual leadership of the Ministry of Infrastructure will promote this project after 10 years. This was just an example. Another example is the old motorway between Patras and Pyrgos. This should have been improved many years ago upon the responsibility of different officials, because people were killed. Let me come to the end by saying that there is a necessity to implement directly some targeted projects to help also the survival of Greek companies. Some projects will be just theoretical if we don't have Greek technical companies. I said some things. You have understood much more rather. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you so much, Mr. Lambropoulos. You talked to us about interesting things. The minister might announce a project, there might be a bid of a project, but we're talking about other projects, the projects of bidding, the problems of bidding, the slaughtering of companies who will take the project before the cost, etc. This might mean delays. Now, let us move on with the next speaker, Regional Governor, Mr. Fanis Spanos, Regional Governor of Continental Greece. Please, you have the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to deeply thank you, and I would like to congratulate the organizers, Peloponnesus Journal, and of course my colleague, my dear colleague and friend, Mr. Farmakis, the Regional Governor. Minister, MPs, mayors, ladies and gentlemen. I am here in a very nice place. It's not the proper time to open the agenda of works in continental Greece. That's why I'm going to refer to two things. This will not be a claim, but I would like just to point out something that was said by the minister and professor. Good works, proper and valuable works, do not have a place, do not have a homeland. The motorway between Patras and Pyrgos in the long run might revitalize Chalkida or Lamia. 2 points of interest for us and Western Greece. We work on that. All governors are working on that. We work with the ministry for these projects to become mature. Thermopylae Antirio, Lamia, Karpenisi, and Agrinio. Each project has a different point of maturity. And of course, we need to find proper financing. However, we believe that working that in the right way, we can achieve our goals. Mostly today, let us talk about the framework, because this is a very important conjuncture and a very good one, I dare to say. A political leadership without wanting to flatter it, but we know where we stand, we know the truth, especially when talking about projects either at the level of local government or at the level of the central government. Works and projects can be measured by results. There is a conjuncture of political leadership of an administration that overall in the country they are ready to deliver, and what it takes is to switch on the lights. There is a button that will bust the myths, that will lead into new reality, will make us skip dilemmas, and we shall overcome all flaws, all the things that brought zero projects, bad products, or semi-good projects. Having set specific targets, I believe that we can talk about the following axes. First, we must decide that in this country projects should be linked to specific targets of growth. This steps on planning, first of all. We cannot plan without taking into account overall the urban or semi-urban planning. Then, necessary consultation, not the excessive things we've seen for many, many years without any practical, tangible result, but the so-called partners, the so-called stakeholders, the ones that have a say, should add their ideas and thoughts in what we call political decision. The multidimensional governance, not to put the blame on the other, the regional governor to the MP, to the Prime Minister, so on and so forth. But we must see what happens across all levels. From the tennis court to Patras Pyrgos, we can see all our projects as a totality of needs and projects. And of course, what is the feasibility behind that? No matter the attractiveness of some projects, possibly we should be frank to citizens, and some projects should be less urgent, or some others may not be that mature, so we have to work for their maturity. Now, going from targeting to the next step, the next field is maturity. Well, an old story, studies, licensing approvals upon a law which highlights the motto that you cannot hit two birds with one stone, the law of 2016. For different reasons, it took us 2 years to bid one project, but today there is a final result. And that is, contracts for one study shall need more time, even from the very object of the study. Studies should be in the long run. We have more licensing than needed. We accumulate more flows. Even today, we have not admitted to ourselves that the seal of an engineer, of a private engineer, has the same burden with the signature of a public engineer. We come from the same schools. We end up with the same studies. This is a Greek reality that concerns us all. And of course, something that we have said many times in the past, we can plan different studies. We all need a quick win. This is a reality, of course, yes. But here, even in an institutional way, we must all be prepared, have one portfolio, not just for the next mandate, but for the next generations. So, Minister, a proposal in the regional development programs that will be sectors of the national regional program, there should be a percentage to implement studies. Of course, I could get into details. I want to avoid that in order to move on. Forest, real estate, forest registry, real estate, etc. Financing. 4 different tools in our country: National Plan for Growth, NSRF, Agricultural Fund, and lately an old tool, freshed up, PPPs. Private-public partnership, that is. Again, targeting. Again, we have to talk about the need of a free pool, the need for rules. We must include only mature projects. I dare to say, having an expiry date or a clause of decommitment. And then there should be a structural commitment so that we can spend, so that we can waste no money in procedures. Furthermore, again and again, we can see the value for money principle. Otherwise, projects will be null and void. Moreover, when it comes to PPPs, which is an innovative tool, not that used in Greece, but it may give us many solutions with simplification and no cross-cutting use. In the legal framework, because we're running out of time, we must talk about the different bodies of implementation, clear competencies, clear duties. We can, of course, collaborate. Many regional governors will be involved in that, or many ministries will be involved in the project, but we must know who does what. Then competencies should be followed by budgets. In summer 2018, in one night, overnight, regional governments took under their responsibility the different streams, from the biggest one to the smallest one, without added financing. So you can understand the complexity of that. Devolution, decentralization. I think that we must go downwards, administratively speaking, so that projects could get closer to the citizen. And then all projects could be embraced by more citizens. Ideally, the Ministry of Infrastructure should be responsible for big motorways in the future and nothing else. And then, of course, Law 4412, only 4 words, I will say: acceleration, simplification, flexibility, protection. It lacks in all 4 of them. It seems that we're talking about bureaucracy, erroneously talking about safety or soundness, but many times bureaucracy and non-soundness, that is, safety gaps, are enemies. We must fight them at the same time. And let me come to the end. We don't have this specific culture in our country. Operation maintenance. In a certified and predefined way, we must maintain the projects. The miracle of the Olympics 2004 was followed by empty buildings. Yesterday we saw the Helicon project. We are very happy about it. Each one of these minor projects in the future should be guaranteed. Its fate should be guaranteed from scratch. By way of conclusion, let me tell you, the following: I am in the 8th conference. This is my first. Thank you. Which means that this conference was built in crisis. It's a golden opportunity to bring a turmoil, to become the catalyst and bring a game changer. We can make it happen. You know what? In continental Greece, we are saying, if you don't give to the people, you cannot do nothing. Or Philodimos 1 project for the ones in local authorities. Here we can have a different approach. Besides, we are all in favor of that. The minister said before that he's in favor of change. And here there is an engagement to results, to truth, to projects. We are looking forward to that because people are working. We are looking forward to that throughout the country. We are looking forward to that for us as well in continental Greece. And of course, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best to everyone. Focused on targets, good projects, development, and of course, this is the pathway that might lead us away from crisis. We have all necessary criteria to materialize that into practice, and we can experience that we live in a better place, and we did something to make this place a better homeland. Thank you very much for the proceedings. Thank you so much. Let me here say, since they said about 4412, it's about the law on public procurement. So Mr. Lambropoulos and Mrs. Panos talked about the improvement of this law. Improvement that is being prepared by the Ministry of Transport along with the Ministry of Development. Minister, we do hope that recently amendments will be brought before the Greek Parliament to see some improvement. Mrs. Panos, we talked about maturity of studies, maturity of projects. I would say proper studies, because many times we can see some projects that start, then they are blocked because studies are null and void, or they cannot be implemented. We must talk about proper studies, that is, studies that could be implemented in practice. It's high time we turn to our next speaker, Mr. Papanikolas, head of Vinci and the Olympic Motorway. Please talk to us about Olympia Motorway, and then what about the tolls? Your new system. Let us see. You have the floor, sir. Mr. Luludis, Regional Governor, thank you so much for this honorary invitation, and congratulations for this conference. It is the first conference in person after the COVID restrictions, so it's very important for us to meet even at a distance, and this makes me very proud to be with you. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, please, may I have a presentation in order to abide by my timeline? Thank you so much. In 2017, amidst the economic crisis, we finalized a modern motorway through the method of concession. This model was proved to be a model that is resilient, especially in difficult times, as it were the economic crisis period. The reason is quite simple, because in the model of concession we can see a part of the economic burden and the risk of implementation allocated, as well as the management of the project allocated from the public sector to the private one. Now, a private entity, what exactly happens? A private entity, or rather corrects himself the speaker, you can see here the graphs of the speaker. A private company offers a public service. They are given the right through the concession contract to offer a public service. The responsibility is huge. These concession contracts are an agreement of risk management between the private and the public sector. The private sector is responsible to finance, study, build, operate, maintain an infrastructure project and deliver that in good shape. On the other hand, the public sector is here to give away the place. The public sector will solve all different issues with the archaeological services, the different issues with cables and cabling, and undertake some risks like some force majeure. That is a concession contract, is an allocation of risk between two parts, the private and the public sector. So the private company undertakes to build and operate the project. I shall focus, as an example, on the Olympia Motorway, a project built in difficult times, as you all know, a project that was built on the current axis, the biggest part from Corinth to Patras, which created big problems. A motorway that was created in a area of crossroads with a railway with different fractures, and a project built amidst the economic crisis. It has been quite problematic, yet at the end of the day it was built. That's why I'm telling you that the model was resilient in an era of crisis from 2010 to 2016. All public projects have stopped. The only projects that kept the construction sector alive were concession projects throughout this period. There are some contractual obligations undertaken by us, such as the operation of the motorway. After the operation, there is the operation of that. The operation, in this case of Olympia Motorway, you know that it is 24/7, with two management centers for traffic. Each one might cover the totality of the motorway. Then customer service, call center. There are 200 employees when it comes to the management of traffic and safety of the motorway, with 55 patrol vehicles and intervention and special signage for public safety and serving users. Now, amongst our obligations, maintenance. We talked about operation and maintenance. Maintenance of the road. When it comes to maintenance, there is the preventive and the practical or frequent audit, inspection and maintenance of the road. For an effective different means, the Olympic Motorway had a system that is based on the proper methodologies, technologies rather, with a big database drafted, starting from designs, continuing with the quality record plans, and the result of audits. So the big database is processed using the latest technology, and likewise there has been a detailed audit every 6 years and interim inspections every 3 years. Let me give you an example. Up to now, there is an extended program of inspection and enhancement of the current bridges. You might have seen that in the regional motorway of Patras, the support of the current bridges. Normally, the situation should not be this one today. Moreover, the bitumen for the whole region and the change of lights within the tunnels, the upgrade of the current parts, Elefsina, Corinth, and the ring road of Patras. Here you see an example at Kakia Scala. We are here to audit the traps for rocks through climbers, a project that goes beyond the pure responsibility of our project. Yet, We have committed for some super or over contractual commitments. These are not contractual responsibilities, but they are about our positioning vis-à-vis the environment, our positioning vis-à-vis culture. At this point, allow me to say that the Olympia Motorway is a cultural route starting from Elefsina, stops to Corinth, and one day it will go to Olympia in any way. In my view, Olympia Motorway should become a option par excellence from a daily visit from Athens, like Delphi. So a tourist that has one day free might visit ancient Olympia very rapidly. This is our goal. Yet Olympia Motorway should be finalized, because Olympia Motorway without ancient Olympia, it's a bit of a paradox. Now, the other axis is innovation. Innovation is in our DNA from scratch. It's in our DNA from the era of the Rhine Bridge, a technological marvel, a technological endeavor, a vivid experiment, a museum of engineers and modern engineering. Now, let us talk about innovation in nutshell, and let me talk to you about the following. Right now, we've seen that following the restriction era, we tried to avoid human contact. Olympia Motorway was the only motorway that met that obligation from day one, because you have the different lanes with automated machines. We have included POS on our own expenses, the only motorway that has included POS, automated payments. The user actually might choose any way to pay, credit card, cash, or having the e-pass of the Olympia Motorway. Contactless, they can go through the tolls. But allow me to mention the hybrid system of paying per kilometer. Let me tell you that there will be different charge. Olympia Motorway has been committed to put in order an injustice when it comes to kilometers, to charge per kilometer in the toll system. Motorways are of open type, which means that charge is done per zone with frontal tolls. There is an injustice when somebody enters the motorway in the middle, so they will pay more for a smaller distance. We are committed to set that in order. From September onwards, if everything goes well, the different passes, different Olympia passes, will have the privilege to pay per kilometer based on the distance they cover. It will be the only motorway that will offer such an opportunity. How does this work? Let me give you an example. Today, let's say that somebody wants to pass by the tolls of Elefsina. Okay. Normally they will be charged for the orange zone. Let's say that the zone was 100 kilometers and he would pay 6 euros. But then he decides to exit at Megara. At that moment, we can see a system catching him automatically. He should not stop, and he understands, the system understands that this car exited that point, so they will not cover the remaining distance. Consequently, I have to pay him back for the distance they didn't cover. Likewise, we put things in order for the users of our pass. Let me give you another example. From Kalavrita, if somebody wants to go to Aegio, today they have to pay 3.3 euros at the tolls of Eleona. With the hybrid, they will pay 90 cents. This not only does it offer safety and economy, but at the same time it will not be a burden for the secondary motorways. There are many other technologies and innovations like smart tunnel, which is there for the maintenance of all systems within a tunnel. Look at that. It's very important. Miranda is a tool, it's an application rather, set up by one of the companies participating in Olympia Motorway that can be downloaded on a smartphone. So the patrol of Olympia Motorway has this application Miranda, so they can cover the motorway using that system. At least 2 patrol vehicles per week. This program, we can see the damages caused by the vibrations of the soil. What is the damage brought to the motorway? And geographically, we can know the deterioration of each damage at the exact point of the motorway. So this will lead us to the point maintenance. In the ring road of Patras and in Elefsina, you've seen that we replaced the old lamps with LED lighting, saving 70% of our energy footprint. In essence, this means 4,000 less tons of CO2 emission. Another implementation is here, a pilot project. We can activate atmosphere, and we can use the moisture of atmosphere to turn it into potable water. The different stations, the benefit of customers, these can be green stations, and there will be proper lightnings like the points of Psathopyrgo. You can see that in Velo as well, and then Aegeo shall follow. There is another system. If you go into the site of Olympia Motorway, there can be a prediction about what will happen in traffic in the next 2 or 3 days. A very important feature when there is traffic. You can see this application, you can see what's the best time to travel or go back. And it all starts with safety. That is what we are doing. This is our know-how. That is, turn a problematic street into a miraculous motorway with 0 accident or 0 lethal cases, as we did with Corinth Patras. To us, this is the big bet. This is what we are doing. And by way of conclusion, let me here tell you that you can see how the motorway was before in grey colors and the respective points today in colored images. This is our expertise, this is our advice in road safety. As I said before, turn deadly points like the Corinth Patras motorways into motorways of the future where we can travel safely with our families and in a speedy way. Because to us, we're talking about values. Transfer is value. Circulation is freedom. Sustainable mobility, though, is a need of our era and the big bet that we should win. Olympic Motorway will keep on working, having at its heart human beings. Olympic Motorway will still move on, having at its heart the exclusion of any bias. We shall continue uniting people, cultures, dreams for a better tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Papanikolas. Mr. Louloudis, having said that, having shown these different situations, I brought myself to the future, and I wish that after some conference, I don't know, 23 or 24, Mr. Papanikolas to come back to show to us the old images and the new images in the future through a safe motorway for human beings traveling then. Now, what about the part Pyrgos and Olympia? Mr. Karamalis, you know, Mr. Panicola's gave us a relay, hybrid tolls. Mr. Panicola's, please come to us next year about any reduction of tolls. Since you made that reference to more just tolls, please come back to us every year to talk to us about reductions. Now, Mr. Karamalis, Minister, what about interoperability? What we are doing today is that in order to travel between different motorways, we can use 2 or 3 e-passes. But you have already announced interoperability, that is, with one e-pass, one could travel throughout Greece. Could you please elaborate on that? Yes. This is obvious, and it is an obligation of the different private bodies since 2013 implement interoperability themselves. So we managed within the first month of our mandate to bring to the same table all private entities. This was not easy. To find a solution with interoperability. What does this mean practically? It means that with one device I can have access to all 5 motorways. The issue there was complicated. It's a technically complicated thing. There has been an agreement to that. Mr. Prerequisites, the competent minister of digital governance, will find a solution to materialize that within the next time period. Yet the tolls issue, which is an issue that might create big reactions, should be put on certain foundation. Greece today has the cheapest tolls in Europe. We have the cheapest tolls in Europe. 6 cents per kilometer on average. In Italy, it is 12 cents per kilometer. In Portugal, 10 cents. And in France, I don't remember the figure. More expensive though. Egnatia Motorway, because I have with me Mr. Lambropoulos. For many years there weren't any tolls. The first 3 tolls in Egnatia Motorway, the first one was in the region where I am elected. Everybody said there would be reactions, there would be the one or the other reacting to that. But a toll is put to have a properly maintained toll, a properly maintained motorway rather. Let us stop in this country reinventing the wheel. Let us understand what Mr. Papanikolaou said. The model of concession contracts that started through Nea Demokratia in 2006 or in 2007 through huge reactions was followed by all other governments. And today I think that we shall all agree, with the exception of Patra Pyrgos, Greece, Mr. Lambropoulos, you know that better than I do, has a very modern motorway system that is similar to the European networks. It is a reality that we must all accept, and at the end of the day we must all understand that tolls should be there. They should be rational. The pollutant should pay, and the Greek state should give some alternative routes for the ones that in some cases don't want to pay or use the tolls. This is the truth. We should tell it, and we must understand that if we really want to have modern streets, we shall pay tolls as it happens almost in all European countries. Thank you. We thank you, Minister. Now, our last speaker for today, Mr. Mavromatis, Vice President Government for Infrastructure in Western Greece region. Please talk to us about local projects and what are your plans, or what are you implementing? Please, you have the floor. Minister, Secretary General, my dear speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the seat of the Western Greece region. Mr. Luludis, I should confess that year by year you are doing better. I wish you all the best for next year as well. Now, circulation is a fundamental human right. We move to cover our physical need for socializing, to make ends meet, but also to go to vacation or to visit our family houses. We move a lot. We are using the motorways to transfer goods, and we are in seek of ways to reach our destination in a safer way and in a speedier way. Yet, for many decades, we did nothing rightly in this place. Having said that, I include the totality of Western Greece. Neither quick motorways nor safe ones. But one should turn their eyes to the right or to the left to remember how many people were lost waiting for the last many years the implementation of Corinth-Patras or the Patras-Pyrgos motorways. We had no safe motorways, not because we didn't have money, but mainly what we lacked was our decisiveness and our commitment to the mission. No matter what our hat is, either one is a minister or regional governor, a councillor or anything else, our only mission is to make lives of people better, offer to society. For many years, however, these became a second priority. What everybody was trying to do was to merge any type of local or financial interest at a cost. The cost was loss of property, loss of lives, and of course opportunities for growth. According to the Bureau of the British government, the COVID crisis could have cost to the UK up to 330 billion euros. The figure might be too high, but even the moderate BBC seems to embrace that estimation. As one might easily understand, no market and no self-regulation may resolve such an issue without any tragic impact for society. And as every time, following big crises in the history of mankind, the same now, the state, the public sector undertakes an institutional role, because only the state has the ability for dynamic and big extended interventions. Throughout history, you might remember the Marshall Plan, which helped a destroyed Europe go through the nightmare of World War II. In the UK, following the same logic, Boris Johnson, the PM, is planning a colossal plan of public investment, having as an aim to contribute to the fight the impact of COVID, achieving at the same time, rather restart in a dynamic way the British economy. At the heart of that, we can see infrastructure focusing on transport from their traditional form to the modern logic of micromobility. Nowadays, 17 companies that are dealing with e-scooters are getting prepared to participate in future programs that will be planned by 30 British cities. Imagine how many new posts will be created only by that part, the last mile traffic. Our own problem, however, is bigger and more fundamental. Infrastructure in the deeply touched Western Greece. This is an obsolete question. Many resources were spent at a very low pace without any desirable results. My own experience throughout the last 10 months makes me not that worried as before, but a permanent visitor of the services of the ministry to guarantee that we can do everything to improve our infrastructure. When talking about main infrastructure, we're talking about infrastructure, about networks, modern motorways, modern ports, airports, networks that are about infrastructure of energy like natural gas, for instance, different telecom networks, especially in our region, irrigation networks. A painful story for Greek farmers. Through coordinated efforts and through the partnership with the ministry, our aim is to improve and modernize the totality of irrigation projects in Western Greece. A result of that will be to save water resources at the same time boost agricultural economy. This takes action through specific targets and in a robust way. Our citizens elected us with one specific aim: turn theory to practice, turn theory to practical projects. This should be done immediately with front-loaded activities. In that effort, we lost no minute. We set specific priorities and timelines. And to be more specific, to put it bluntly, to judge ourselves at the end of our mandate. The biggest network of motorways exists in Western Greece. Anti-flood protection is set as a second priority without targeting, with programmed and planned maintenance of 124 million euros. We aspire to change the situation and reverse it. We have no other gap to lose our co-citizens, to see another destruction of properties. We cannot put the blame on the past or depend on the past. We need to improve the road networks. We need to delimitate the rifts and improve the lightning. Through the upgrade of our network, we contribute to the upgrade of our territory. Imagine a port or an airport without the necessary accessibility networks. All the different regional ports, our regional ports, should be interlinked with the big motorways that transcend the country. This interconnection will be helpful to the upgrade of our homeland, will bring jobs to our citizens, and will improve the standards of life. We get financing from the public investments program that is unprecedented. We move on with projects of 96 million euros. We don't stop here. We're on the move to achieve more for our homeland. We shall exhaust every possibility given by the current NSRF, but also given by the following one. We worked hard for 10 months with a specific wish. We wanted to fulfill the dreams of our co-citizens. What did we achieve? Pending projects were unblocked in less than 1 year's time. As an example, I'm going to talk to you about projects amounting to 20 million euros. The seas of Toliko, we have unblocked procedures. They were blocked since 2009. In 1 year's time, after 12 trips to Athens, as I told you before, I have become the most frequent visitor of the ministry. Everything has been finalized. The integration and the bidding of the project is just a matter of time. It is about a big project for the inhabitants of Mesologi and the ones that live from that. At that point, allow me to tell you that our services and the services of the ministry under the guidance of Mr. Karamanlis cooperate in an exquisite way that will be reflected into the final result. We are obliged to move on in a speedy way, and we shall do it based on three values: profitability, progress, return on investment, with an aim to offer safety in Western Greece. In other words, this will bring development in our region. Of course, this is not just about big projects, but at the same time, in a parallel way, there are different stuck projects that were pending, stuck in the gears of bureaucracy. Smart traffic lights, for instance, that will improve safety, a pending issue since 2013. We unblocked that as well. We need a Western Greece that will be a 12-month destination which will offer quality of life for the inhabitants and at the same time will become a hub of attraction for visitors. With the assistance of the government and with the assistance of Karamanlis, because this name is linked to efficacy, public works and projects, the implementation of public projects that we are implementing will multiply and we will get a maximum result. In some years' time, we shall be able to talk about a totally different image, an image that will bring the signature of our regional governor, Nektarios Farmakis. Western Greece right now is a construction site, which is a sample of the efficacy of this person, Mr. Farmakis. So all of us, the staff of different services, doing our best. I would like to thank them all. Minister, we want you as our ally to make our place a better scenery. Allow me now to tell you the following, because to me it's very important. I'm not a pro in politics. I must praise the character of the minister, because to me this is the biggest thing. If there is true identity, true character in a person, he must be effective. Let me give you a personal experience. Some years ago, I had a business in Athens. I was fortunate enough to have as a client Kostas Karamanlis. When I saw him in the street, his first words were not "how are you doing," but "what about your business? Are you doing well?" You can all understand what this means. A person of the market and a person of these people can give solutions to problems. Minister, wish you all the best. Secretary General, welcome. Mr. Luludis, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This was the end of speeches. Now we shall go to the interventions. The regional governor is not here, so any other second intervention? No? Okay, we'll see. Mr. Evalis, we have the floor. President of the Technical Chamber of Western Greece, you have the floor, sir. First of all, welcome to our city. And welcome because you bring good news for the railway part at least. I'm pretty happy, Minister, because after much time you reviewed your first assessment, the first assessment in your ministry, and the first assessment of your services. So you came here and you accepted the official view of the Technical Chamber. Because now we're talking about an underway after Kanellopoulos Street, a view that has been accepted by your ministry in the past. Then things changed, etc. Other interventions, bigger, smaller, etc. Your today's announcement is very good for our city, and I'm pretty happy about it. So, when it comes to the new railway connection, I have not many things to tell you, because in essence, you are aligned with the view of the Technical Chamber. On the other hand, there is the motorway linking Patras to Pyrgos. Minister, the view of the Technical Chamber was clear, crystal clear for the last many years. We believed, and we do believe still, that since there has been no guarantee about the positive view, the positive reply, or the level of the services of community, the positive attitude when it comes to the approvals by the three directorates. DG Regio, I think we've gotten an approval by that. Yes, we have demanded DG Crow and we have DG Com. So if we don't have all approvals, since we don't have a reply from all three DGs, we believe that possibly we shouldn't have been led to the expiration of the contracts. Mr. Papanikolas, representing here Olympia Motorway, we're not grumpy with Olympia Motorway because they have proven their views, and what he said about maintenance is truthful. And of course, I have stopped to see that in practice. But this could be an option or an idea to share with you, nothing more, nothing less. Another point that I would like to raise is the following. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, you did this memorandum of understanding with Olympia Motorway under the same budget or a bit cheaper. Okay. So the framework of I imagine that the framework of the existence of tolls in this part is valid when it comes to the maintenance and the operation of the motorway. So, suggestion. Taking into account that there is no proper amortization or the private entity to put its own money, so possibly should we see into that in a detached way? Could you make an agreement with Olympia Motorway and achieve a better price? Just a question from my side. In any case, if there are tolls and if there is no implementation of the system, as Olympia Motorway just said, charging per kilometer, in any case, and I would like to invite both in this part, tolls of frontal tolls should be after the area of Achaya, because next to Achaya there is the industrial zone. There is huge traffic that takes place daily during the morning and the evening, so you understand that all these people to go to work, they won't pay to get in and out, so the whole load will go to the old national road. Apart from the limited prerequisites it has, it goes through all villages locally. You understand what this will mean, and please keep that in mind. Another point, rather notes the speaker, correcting himself. Let me tell you the following only. There is a question. There is a question in my mind. A fixation, I would say. Let me be frank with you. I heard you in the Parliament the other day. There has been also a question which was not replied. In 2013, when Olympia Motorway wanted to leave the concession contract, back then the budget was bigger in this part. Right now, you got a smaller budget. Congratulations for that. Why? How could this happen? Please, an explanation to that. Thank you. And last but not least, Minister, and I address to you, since you are responsible for all these questions, I would like to raise an issue that we didn't touch upon, related to the management body for the dam. Your ministry had sent in the past a draft about a management body, and in this plan we were able to see the participation of all local stakeholders. This was not accepted by the municipality of Patras, which would have had the 20%, and it didn't materialize. I would like you to inform us, even if I understand what has been done. I would like you to update us, if you can, about what exactly happened, what will happen rather, and if the public sector could cover the percentage of the municipality of Patras, because they don't want to join that effort, but we must solve the problem because water is a public good. In this framework, in order to mitigate the negative reaction of the municipality, we could put 2 or 3 things that the municipality is not in favor. First, that there should be a satisfactory buffer which would guarantee balanced budget. Second, this is the only entity with the technical capacity to support the management body in that part. And there should be another counter benefit. Third, there is a fear, there is a widespread fear that if the others may not pay, what will happen with this body? You could foresee that money in this case, if not paid by any municipality, then this money should be kept from the central taxes. These are proposals that might give a solution to the problem. Apart from the initial management for 3 or 5 years, we must solve any problem so that the body rather could stay purely public. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Evalis. Don't know, Mr. Karamalis, whether you'd like to reply to the points set by Mr. Evalis. Some replies, some questions rather, have been set and raised, so the Minister could reply. Some questions, perhaps? I will be very brief. Minister, thank you very much for being here. Mr. Loudis, every year is a positive surprise. I will be very, very brief, and let me touch upon the Olympia Motorway and the management body of the dam. Needless to talk about the necessity of the project, Olympia Motorway, I think that the Ministry is moving towards a good direction. I think that through different procedures we must run. I would like to talk about 2 or 3 issues when it comes to Olympiados. First, we must take into account seriously and materialize the fact that we have a civil aviation airport in Araxos, which should be directly linked to a modern motorway with Olympiados. An airport at a 20-kilometer distance, there is a motorway, so what about an interconnection? There should be a connection between the two. Second point, 2 or 3 practical problems when it comes to the construction of Olympiados vis-a-vis the positioning of tolls. I would like us to discuss about it, Minister. We have discussed about it in Athens. I would like to come to the Ministry and discuss about it with Olympiados as well. And now, let me mention the issue of the management body. Western Achaia links Patras and Ilia. It is a plain. Our biggest problem is water. We have a huge problem of water right now. We are struggling for people to have water. Reserves, we're running out of reserves. The only solution is irrigation by the dam of Pyros Parapyros for the eastern municipality and from Pinios for the western part. What I would like to tell you is that it is of paramount importance to materialize this management body to be in the hands of neighboring municipalities, because we believe that this is the best way for a natural good like water to be only managed by the public sector and the municipality. We believe that we must face all technical first problems, but it is important for that project to be under the umbrella of municipalities. We shall find ways to overcome difficulties set by the municipality of Patras. Thank you. Minister, you have the floor. Let me start with the question of the technical chamber. President, I see in relief that there is a common place between the technical word of the area and the ministry vis-à-vis the undergrounding. Here, let me tell you some other things, because I see that this is very interesting. There are people comprehending technical issues. In the previous period, we talked about the total undergrounding of 11 kilometers. In essence, we talked about a project that would abolish the suburban railway. What does this mean? Europe told you, come on guys, some years ago we gave to you some money to materialize the suburban railway. Right now there is another project to annul the suburban railway. How can I explain this financing? So with this solution we can combine both the train to be undergrounded in 5.6 kilometers from Kanelopoulos to Agios Andreas Church at a cost that is feasible, because as I said before, said by the international experience, an undergrounding costs at least 100 million euros per kilometer. That is why our budget is 514, and likewise financing can be accepted by the European Commission. For Patras Pyrgos, your figures, President, are a bit problematic, and if I may, I have written that down so that people may understand that, and so that people may understand why the previous actions were erroneous. Fragmentation was not used as a policy in 2018. They followed a contracting procedure. Fragmentation is implemented in very specialized projects, not in easy projects. Europe has said, do whatever you like, but in 2023 money will vanish. If in 2025 you do not end, I will ask for all money back. But let us take the argument of fragmentation. The project will be cheaper. Listen to the figures. Budget of the project without fragmentation. Budget, okay, 2014. Samaras Venizelos government, 443 million euros. An expensive project, they said. We will use the fragmentation way to make it cheaper and more competitive, they said. The budget turned into 510 million euros, so 67 million more. This is how the first argument goes away. Second argument, let us see the discounts. Discounts of fragmentation, 55%. That is, the project could amount to 252 million euros upon discount. And now let us not fool ourselves. The technical world knows that 252 million would not suffice. There would be complementary contracts like in Actio Ambrakia, and the project would end up with more money, not in the timeline set. The agreement with Olympia Motorway that is under approval, not 252 million euros, but 224 million euros as public contribution, and the private entity will add the remaining money. So there is a risk for the private entity, which is a main argument. Now, in 2013, why wasn't it into the fragmentation policy? Well, there were many routes back then. In 2017, we went out from fragmentation because up to 2017, we had the right to activate this option. So this is what we are trying to do. What's the essence of that? And let me come to the end. If Patras Pyrgos had started in 2014, then the whole story would have been to an end. Public good and water. Mayor, I agree. Water is a public good, but let me here make a distinction. One thing is a public good. A good is a water, yes, which is public, which should be accessible, and another thing is the service. So I am open to listen to the proposals. I believe that municipalities should participate in that, but let us not talk about two different things. The service and projects might be a part of a PPP. So having said that, I'm at your disposal for any other points of discussion. Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so this is the end of our session. I would like to thank the Minister, I would like to thank the speakers. I wish you all the best, fruitful proceedings. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.